Hello and welcome to a new episode of Enterprise Morning on Enterprise TV. I am Henry Igwebike. And with me from now on is Chinyere. Chinyere, you're welcome to Enterprise Morning, but most importantly to the Enterprise TV family.
Thank you so much, Henry. I'm excited to be here.
Really.
Yes.
All right, so but most importantly today is World Happiness Day. I'm so happy to have you today on World Happiness Day, Chinyere.
Especially making my debut here at Enterprise TV. Funnily enough, I have been an avid follower of this brand, admiring it from a distance, and then finally I'm here. I mean, this means a lot to me.
Really. Thank you for the 7-star reviews. We appreciate that.
And then thank you for allowing me to share your stage.
All right, that's good. That's good. So, what do you think about happiness? I don't know. I would love you to start. What do you think about happiness? Maybe before going to what a man feels about happiness.
Right. So happiness has been given a multi-pronged definition, so to speak, by different people, right? But again, I think that happiness is relative. It's subjective. To cut the long story short, happiness is an individual thing. It's chiefly dependent on you.
Really?
So it's a choice to be happy. It's a choice.
Well, it's relative, but from a man's world, I think happiness is more drawn to pursuit of happiness, going for the bag. That's why I think happiness is from a man's point of view, because the reality is, you can't be said to be happy when you do not have so much money.
Okay, so I have a dissenting view to what you just said now in terms of, looking at it from a man's or a gender's perspective, because you may not agree with me, Henry. Most families, as we speak, the women are now the men. Really? So the man is supposed to be or designed to carry the home in terms of responsibilities. But the women are now doing it. I can name names, right? So.
All right, let's just leave it at that. But of course, today is World Happiness Day, and the most important thing for us as Nigerians is to just keep being happy, no matter what the situation is. So quickly, let's start off our newspaper reviews today with the Punch newspaper. But after that will be our main conversation, obviously. So we'll start off with the Punch newspaper, and the banner headline here says, "Reign of Terror. 165 farmers killed March. Farms deserted as bandits demand 3 billion naira." And the writer here says 130 farmers killed in 4 Benue local government areas, 28 in Sokoto, and sorghum production falls by 90% in Borno. And the sub-writer to that same big story, he says Benue farmers lose 1.1 billion naira to attacks. Sokoto governor paid 3 billion naira ransom and 5 million paid in a Delta. On the top strip of the same newspaper, we have Senate uncovers a fresh infraction, summons Cardoso, and the reps to quiz a minister over $300 million malaria loan. I don't know, Junior, what do you have for your newspaper?
Okay, so let's give a bird's eye view to Daily Trust this morning. In no particular order, we have Kano, Katsina, Sokoto, 4 others spend 28.3 billion naira on Ramadan feeding. That's a lot, Henry, that's
Very
a lot.
big lot, really.
Yes, and then we have the story that seems to be exciting me since yesterday. Adora emerges Zenith Bank's first female GMD.
And the funny thing is, ladies, they all seem to be excited and happy about that news.
Yes, we are.
Why?
Well, women are finally shattering a lot of glass ceiling. Yes.
All right.
All right, so still on the Daily Trust, we have Akpabio under fire for linking soldiers' killings to masonries. And then we have INEC laments rising costs, disruptions from acrimonious primaries, waivers for defectors. That's all we have from the Daily Trust.
All right, so finally, let's move on to the Vanguard newspaper, and the banner headline here says Delta killings, 3 suspects nabbed, moved to army headquarters in Asaba. And on the top strip of the same newspaper, we have Edo Gaba. Only 6 parties have filed a nomination. On the bottom strip of the same newspaper, we have we didn't renovate government house with 18 billion naira And that's coming from Adeleke, Edo Assembly, direct CJ to set up a committee on Shuaibu's impeachment. So that's all we have for our newspaper reviews today. And with us in the studios to do justice to all we've had on our newspaper reviews today is Mr. Cyril Abaku. He is a journalist and also a public affairs commentator. Good morning to you, Mr. Cyril.
Good morning.
And welcome to Enterprise Morning today.
Thank you.
Great to have you on the show.
All right, so quickly, let's start off with the banner headline on the Punch newspaper, which have it that 165 farmers killed in March. Farms deserted as bandits demand 3 billion naira. And the question is, isn't this becoming very despicable?
No, it already became despicable. I think it was about 2 years ago that the Catholic Bishop of Sokoto Diocese publicly said what all of us had been thinking about. He said that Nigeria has become a killing field. The government of former President Buhari came for his neck. But it was true that a lot of the things happening even go underreported. But the fact is that farmers can't go to their farms. People are now kidnapped for fun. People are killed on a whim and in large numbers. And I think that the government has surrendered Nigeria to terrorists, clearly speaking.
So which means our nation is weak?
It's not weak, it is weakened.
Oh, okay.
There are two different things. It is weakened and being weakened. I think that we're the ones who have opened the door, because even when the government itself makes errors, they go unpunished. If a government can mistakenly, erroneously bomb its own citizens and there are no consequences, what moral right would that government now have to go after so-called terrorists? I mean, it's even, for me, I think that in a manner of speaking, because the approach to the matter is terroristic in nature. That's why we call it terrorism. Otherwise, I don't think it is terrorism that is organic. This is purely a case of a government that is unwilling, unserious in providing basic security for its citizens. And so all kinds of non-state groups are now taking advantage. Imagine people going to a school and kidnapping more close to 300 students, pupils. Nobody knows where they are. Nobody sees the part they took. And they are just there. But they feed their victims every day. And they don't buy food from the town. So where are they getting food from? Where do they get water from? How do they manage waste, for example? Okay? The other day, Sheikh Gumiki Matan said that the security agencies know where these kidnappers are. They know their hideouts. And they even escort them to go and do the negotiations.
So
that sounds more like a criminal industry to me than terrorism. That's an industry. A lot of people don't know that in Maiduguri, there are all kinds of NGOs, so-called aid groups and donors who have rented houses that are several hundreds of years old, maybe 60 years old houses. They've rented them for the next 40 years. What are they doing there? What kind of thing is that?
You mean international NGOs?
You are renting a house that is about to collapse, and you've paid rent of 20 years on it. It means you're sure that the work you came to do will not end even in 20 years. We saw the other day the case of, was it the, I don't think it was the Red Cross, one of these agencies. Their boss always breaks down at a particular place. Then the next thing you hear, terrorists came and robbed them and took their things away. What are they always taking away? The army had to declare them persona non grata. We have a government, like I said, that either does not know what it is doing or is complicit in what is going on. Otherwise, what we call terrorism, I find it difficult to understand. In Chibok, WAEC said, we can't come and conduct exams because it is unsafe. The governor said, come and conduct the exams. All right? That happened, they conducted the exam, the girls were kidnapped and taken away, purportedly kidnapped and taken away, right? Then the principal of the school was a medical for medical checkup. The security man was not there. Nobody was there to prevent the kidnap of nearly 300 children. Then months later, the principal was made a commissioner in the state. That looks more like a reward to me. Now, Ohanese youth have told Mr. President Bola Tinubu, they said, "Okay, be careful. You are very likely going to get the Jonathan treatment." And what was that? the use of kidnapping and widespread insecurity to tarnish the image of your government and make you not to be able to get a second term. If it's not political, what else is it? So I find it difficult to understand. This is not just about police go and do anything. No. We are in a country where a military aircraft is shot down. Somebody comes out to say, I'm the one who did it. When we are not at war, when it's not a silent aggressor, a citizen of the country. And all that we can do is to be turbaning terrorists in Zafar and all these places. Turbaning them in the name of peace. It means the state has either surrendered this power to protect citizens or it is weak. So clearly something is not right with what is going on. I can tell you that for free.
Okay, so Mr. Siri, just allow me to cut in there. You have said something that I think they are quite profound, but I wasn't really comfortable when you talked about the government being unwilling. I mean, in some quarters, that would be regarded as rather inflammatory and jaundiced to say. But let's shed our light on state policing and the role you think state policing can play in terms of nipping insecurity in the bud. I mean, finding some sort of panacea to the level of insecurity that we see. I mean, it's on a large scale. Some of the things you have said here breaks my heart. But I mean, beyond being emotional, what do you think the government can do? Do you think state policing might just be the holy grail?
So I'm for state policing,
right?
But not under the present circumstance. It's like saying I'm for subsidy removal, but not in the way the president has also gone about it. Before you have state governors who don't pay civil servant salaries, who have jumbo pension for former governors and deputy governors, right? So how do you think that a country in which the presidency or the federal government is the one giving handouts to the states for their upkeep, all right, will be giving them money and then they can't pay civil servant salaries? They are not tarring roads, they are not building houses, they are not doing anything. These same governors will now, when you now transfer the extra burden of paying policemen to them, how do you think they're going to run it? In my view, state police is the way to go, but not in the presence of. What we must do first of all is to make sure that the states become economically viable. They should be independent. Independence does not mean autonomy. Autonomy will mean that they're going to become separate republics out of Nigeria. They must become independent and show prospect of viability. When they can take care of themselves, then fine, why not? They should have their police, because in the end, policing should not be federal responsibility, it should be state or regional responsibility, okay? But in the present impasse, where we find ourselves in a situation where our nation is too heavy on politics. All right. So until we've dealt with the economic viability of each state and the substantive or substantial depoliticization of government administration, right? Don't give that state police, because it will only compound the issues. That's my view. One governor wakes up. Why did we end state police in the First Republic? The police becomes the governor's militia.
Right.
We've seen it in many states. Governors have the militia. On election day, you don't go to vote. Just go out and see what happens to you. They have people. So when we have when after police that answers to by the way, in a proper civilization, the police or law enforcement is not supposed to be under the executive arm of government. All right. The police is supposed to be a sub-arm of the judiciary. That's how it's done. This is why, ideally, it is the judge that gives a search warrant. It is the judge that gives order for an arrest, not the executive arm of government. The president shouldn't wake up one morning and call the police, go and arrest this person. That has become a dictatorship.
Very true.
So we must work out all of these things. Otherwise, you may look at it, how are we even sure, Chinri, that terrorism is the problem? How are we not sure that the problem is even politics itself? How are we sure of that? So we must properly investigate what's going on and come up with a solution that deals with the root and not the symptom. That for me, yes, is very true.
Yes. So we have another burning issue on daily trust. I don't know if you can take that. All right. So it borders obviously on what we have as a banner headline here: Kano, Katsina, Sokoto, 4 others spent 28.3 billion naira on Ramadan feeding, which is, of course, in simpatico with what you just said now. Most of these states are deficient of basic infrastructure, and they are spending a whopping 28.3 billion naira on Ramadan feeding. Please, run us through.
There are two things here. You know, money has a psychology, okay? If you didn't work for it, if you didn't sweat for it, if you didn't slave for it sometimes, if you didn't do the work to get the money out, there is a tendency that you could blow it. That's it's not about, it could be anything else. So you could, and now indeed they are blowing it. All right, that is the first thing. It goes right back to what I said earlier, that there must be economic viability for each state. Make your money. However you choose to spend should be your business. Okay, one. Number two is the issue of these governors and the way they spend these monies. Is this really Ramadan feeding, or is it money being spent?
A conduit for
something else?
Siphoning money.
And I can tell you for free that in politics, everything ties back to politics. In politics, everything ties back to politics. Nothing goes out of the political ecosystem. Anything outside of politics is philanthropy, and this is not philanthropy. So we saw what happened in Kano, for example, when the current governor, I'm trying to pick his name, was not sure whether he was going to win the cases in court or not.
Yeah, exactly.
What was he doing? He was sponsoring mass wedding for hundreds of people, all at once, mass weddings, scholarships, all kinds of things.
Expense paid.
He became extremely populist. That was one way of, that was his own, so the trial had to take place on two fronts. One was in the court of law, the other one was in public space. He was winning the trial in public space, and so I mean, he also won in the court. This is pure campaign. This is the way the governor was saying, we are on the same page, don't worry.
For 2027,
exactly.
maybe.
Exactly. So, and again, that in the north, there is a lot of emphasis on the Talakawa, the people, the vote, the population. So this is their own way of staying in step with their political base.
Very true.
Full stop.
Very true.
Full stop.
Very true. So, Chinyo, let's have an honest analysis. It's coming from
so
Vanguard.
this is coming from the Vanguard, and it caught my eyes whilst we're looking at the papers. This one says, why court refused Nnamdi Kanu's fresh request bail? So the Nnamdi Kanu story has been, plagued with a lot of back and forth. And on my way to work this morning, I was wondering if the present government's body language suggests that Nnamdi Kanu might just get, bail in this administration. We saw what happened during the last administration. I mean, some hopes were high that he would get bail, but unfortunately he didn't get bail. But the question again is, if the cause for IPOB is fighting for the people, Mr. Cyril, and look at even the sit-at-home order, I mean, it's counterproductive. So who are they actually fighting for? And then do you have any sort of fidelity in this administration as to shifting grounds and then letting him go free?
Yeah, and just to add to that quick question, I understand it's our main conversation for today. So while you answer that briefly, please, I would love you to equally stress on the issue of the Delta killings. Currently 3 suspects have been nabbed and moved to the army headquarters in Asaba. But the question is, how do we authenticate that these people are really the people who committed this arson?
I can tell you for free that the Delta,
Okoloba,
is it debacle or killings? I don't think that we are sincerely seeking the truth of what happened. It doesn't occur to me.
Okay.
And for good reason. But one can't rule out anything. This is Nigeria, right? So you can't rule out anything. The fury of the army to get those who killed their officers and soldiers is not a guarantee for justice. The fury with which the army is now going to Bayelsa, the one headline said that they tracked one of the killers to Bayelsa, they got him and so on. But I'm saying that the fury of the army cannot be a guarantee for justice, if justice is what we really seek in this matter.
Okay.
Because there are one too many unanswered questions about what really happened in Okwame. But it is not to say that because one wrong has happened, we should not assert our moral right to get to the bottom of the matter. but I'm faulting the way they're going about it. We don't know who is who in the whole debacle. We want to hope that if indeed they arrested people, maybe not gotten 3 of them, that they are getting exactly those who were involved in the massacre. No doubt about it. If anybody was bold enough to kill soldiers, I mean, he should pay the price for his foolishness. But then, we also need to now ask, because it is only the truth and justice that can help us to make sure that this sort of thing doesn't repeat itself in future.
Right.
And as for Nnamdi Kanu, since it's your main discussion for the morning, I can only say that the sky doesn't look very bright. That's all I can say.
All right. So, yes. So, when we return, will Nnamdi Kanu ever walk free again? That's the big question for our main conversation for today. In a bit, please don't go anywhere. It's still Enterprise Morning.
Thank you so much, Mr. Serio, for your intervention. When we return after the break, will Nnamdi Kanu ever walk free again? That's the big question for our main conversation in just a moment.
Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.